Elements are pretty sick, and we all know it. The ability to manipulate the natural phenomena has been ingrained into our brains since we were kids watching Avatar, or hell, even Power Rangers or Pokemon. And we eat that shit up. And the companies know that. There's Pokemon, Digimon, Beyblade, Avatar, Power Rangers, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, Naruto, Fairy Tail, Bleach, Elden Ring, League of Legends, Star Rail, Genshin, Tower of not that one. We don't talk about that one. The point is, the ability to manipulate elements is a staple to any form of media if you even slightly dabble in fantasy action, and Wuthering Waves is no exception. We have Gion with his Wind Dragon, we have Jinxie with her Light Dragon, we have the Electric Shangli-El with these hands and geometry, I guess? And it's all sick as fuck in presentation. Like, who doesn't love the idea of literally blasting mobs in the face with a blicky, which then releases crystalline ice pellets? Or who doesn't literally like turning into a fire phoenix when fighting with Chang-Li? Wuthering Waves has always excelled with presentation, and there's no qualms about that. The issue is that mechanically, the elements don't mean anything. See, back when WuWa first released, the elements were literally just an aesthetic to an extent. The most integration it had with the combat was that if the enemy was the same type, they'd resist attacks from said type, and whenever TOA deemed that this type is good for the reset. Aside from that, elements didn't mean much other than letting you know that you're going to be using a character with these effects instead of that effect. This was definitely because Kuro Games wanted a piece of that Genshin slice, and this was one of the many things that Kuro added because Genshin had it. But besides that, it didn't do too much. And you know what? I like that. The elemental reactions from Genshin are cool in concept and can be fun to customize your gameplay. But after a while, it becomes a situation where if you didn't use this reaction, you're just wasting time. Genshin also had the system where if you had a certain combination of types on your team, you'd get passive buffs, which is cool again, but again, not the most relevant. Especially in WuWa's setting, considering you're limited to 3 characters per team as opposed to 4, severely limiting the mechanic if it was implemented into WuWa. At that time, I didn't mind that it was mostly just a don't use this if it's the same situation. It was simple. It didn't make me use characters I didn't care for just to get synergistic stats. And honestly, it let me use my Wind Dragon and Flaming Bird in peace. And I was chill with that. Then 2.0 came out and the elemental system went under a bit of a reconstruction. Sort of, not really though. I say that because in 2.0, Spectral Rover received a buff where he would now be able to apply Spectral Frazzle, a DOT effect, or damage over time. They soon revealed that every element would be receiving some kind of secondary effect. Arrow getting Arrow Erosion, Havoc getting Havoc Bane, and so on and so forth. For the most part, we had already seen these debuffs, but they were done to us. The Monkey would apply Arrow Erosion onto us, Inferno Rider would apply Burn to us, and we'd get frozen by the Lampy, whatever the fuck its name is, when we got hit enough. 2.0 enabled us to access these debuffs, which would be cool if majority of them didn't fucking suck. Maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but I really don't like how they implemented a lot of these elemental reactions. For one, most of these are literally just DOTs that aren't actually significant. Spectral Frazzle DOT is barely noticeable, only being used as a requirement for Phoebe's damage amp, and soon to be Zani's. Arrow Erosion is just another form of ticking damage. Molten Rift is a burst of damage when you hit them enough. And they're all just underwhelming. In sound, we haven't seen majority of these effects yet, so maybe I'm underestimating. The only one that sounds mildly interesting is Havoc Bane, where it spreads like a virus. That's a cool mechanic. But again, all of them just being a dot kind of makes them feel boring, not special, lacking uniqueness. I don't know, it all just feels repetitive. Again, I might sound hella pessimistic for a system that isn't even fully implemented yet. And who knows, maybe all these mechanics will be interesting and more impactful than they sound. But just their impact aren't the only issues I have with it. See, a lot of these elements seem to be supplemental to characters with specific passives. For example, Phoebe does shit damage without Frazzle. I love her, she's great, but if you don't have any Frazzle on the enemy you're fighting, you're literally useless. Arrow Rover is just an erosion buffer for probably Chikona, who's going to have some sort of interaction with arrow erosion. Or probably Cartethia whenever she comes out and we get to see her kid. The elemental debuffs themselves aren't important in the grand scheme of things, which kinda sucks. They just add a layer and an excuse to add more multipliers to characters that are coming out. I think it'd be cool if different characters had different interactions with these debuffs, but at this point it just seems like if you have the debuff on, the character's gonna do more damage. And that shouldn't be the only reason why you apply the debuffs. It once again makes it feel pointless and kinda lazy. And finally, the thing that really pisses me off, not every character can even apply these debuffs. When they introduced the mechanic, I assumed that they would retroactively buff all the characters so that they could apply their respective elemental debuffs. And that's what happened with Spectral Rover. When I heard that the Frost debuff would slow enemies and at some point freeze them, you wanna know what the first thing I thought of was? Ling Yang. Everyone's biggest complaint with him was that his attacks took too long to get his full damage off, and enemies would be moving around too much for him to maximize his on-field time. Him being able to apply a slow with how many hits he does could have been huge, and honestly skyrocketed him in tier lists. And it's not like it's not possible, they literally buffed Spectral Rover because of this system. Let Encore apply Molten Debuff. Let Verena apply Spectral Frazzle.
And for the love of God, let Arrow Rover up.
Okay, I'm calm, I'm okay. Anyway, I have some suggestions. Again, take this with a grain of salt because I don't know how fully interesting this system is yet. It's just on paper, and on paper it sounds lackluster, and these are things I'd like to see to spruce it up. On paper. First things first, let all the characters apply their debuffs. There's no reason for only specific characters to be able to apply it and then also have specific characters have specific benefits from them. It's an excuse to sell characters and be lazy with kit development. It limits team building and incentivizes pulling for characters based on utility, disregarding if they even want the character. If someone likes Cartethia, they shouldn't be forced to pull another member for full usage of the kit. Again, I'm speculating Cartethia is going to benefit from fighting enemies with arrow erosion. But, you know, if you want to take the speculation out, look at Zani. Right now, Zani is going under a lot of discourse because just how reliant she is on Phoebe. I own Phoebe, but that doesn't mean I want to only use Phoebe when I'm playing Zani. Wuthering Waves was always built on having multiple different teams and being able to express your skill through different playstyles. We can have more open-ended teams rather than Spectral Rover being chained to Phoebe, and what is eventually going to be Phoebe's fate when Zani comes out. Second option, make the debuffs more unique. All of them aside from specific ones being DOTs make it feel like, hey, you're doing this but just in a different color. I personally would like the elements to 1, be unique, and 2, benefit your team in a way that doesn't require you to have specific characters that have special passive interactions. Make the fire debuff cause an AoE explosion, or whenever you hit that burst of damage, it fuels your ultimate. Have arrow erosion at a certain number of stacks shred defense, so Arrow Rover, hey, I won't crash out. I'm good. Anyway, it would allow Arrow Rover to actually have some use and compete with other characters for a team on the spot. Havoc Bane, okay, Havoc Bane is pretty sick. That one's good, I won't lie. Electro reduces attack, and it sounds cool, but who knows how effective it'll be considering most things in endgame is 1 to 3 shotting you. And considering how little Frazzle actually does, I wouldn't be surprised if the number is low for attack reduction. A fix? Make it so that you gain attack as you lower theirs, like some kind of siphoning mechanic. I feel like they could have taken these elements in so many directions, but they just chose to limit themselves. And if they seem OP, then they could just adjust the caps of these debuffs and have them differentiate from each other. Arrow erosion reducing defense would definitely make it a high value pick, so make it so that it only does so every 5 stacks up to 15 stacks up to 15%. Or even like raise the cap so that, let's say you could get up to a max of 50 stacks, but you only get the defense shred every 25 stacks. Then, abilities that increase the caps of these elements and debuffs suddenly have so much more value and are inherently more useful and less gimmicky. Finally, rebalancing passives surrounding these elements would be greatly appreciated. Listen, I get that they want to sell characters and teams, but it'd be cool if characters could also be self-sufficient. While Phoebe does need Spectral Rover, she is also capable of fueling herself with proper rotation timing between her Absolution and Confession mode, which can make for some cool solo runs. And Kuro, I don't know if you noticed, but people really like soloing holograms. Check out this video, it's a fun challenge I made for myself. Smiles. I don't want to play a character that needs another character to function. Not their full potential is fine, since this is a game that focuses on team building, but being completely bricked without another character, which by the way can cost up to $300 or literal months of farming, is a shit feeling. How about instead of giving random damage multipliers, if an enemy is afflicted with a debuff, the Resonator gets flat attack, or crit rate, or crit damage, or energy regen, or resonant skill damage. That way, the passives feel more like buffs and add-ons instead of key parts of their kit. But those are just my thoughts on a system that we haven't even fully seen yet. So maybe I'll stand corrected and will eat my words. But I still think it's a cool topic to cover. While I wouldn't have minded if the elemental system remained the way it was, I'd appreciate it if they put a little more effort now that they're going in the direction of making it more integrated in the combat. But what do you guys think? Do you guys have the same worries, or do you think I'm overreacting? Do you guys have any suggestions for what they should change or what you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I upload pretty often, and also don't forget to check out my Twitch. I'm typically streaming WuWa, and I'm probably going to start playing other games as well. But other than that, okay, bye!